Hello there folks, welcome back to the Chap's Guide. My name is Ash and I am your host on this journey through men's style, self-development and personal grooming. Now there is an old saying which basically says that you can tell everything you need to know about a man simply by looking at his shoes. I would say that still rings true, even though that saying has been replayed so many times that it now feels like a bit of an old cliche. However, those of us who know a little bit about how footwear affects your appearance and the way that other people perceive you, we know that that saying is actually true because we've seen it played out time and time again. Now we live in an era where there are what I would describe as quite loose codes when it comes to the way that we deport ourselves in public, the way that we dress. Comfort is king, there's no doubt about that. People now much prefer trainers, sneakers, rather than good old classic leather Oxford shoes or Derby shoes or any number of higher quality polished leather footwear. And I don't want to sound like an old fuddy-duddy here, right? Because I get it. All right, life is tough. People struggle to make ends meet. Certainly they think it's the toughest time that human beings have ever lived through. I would argue, go back a generation or two and then you'll see what tough is really like. But I get it. You come home from a long day at work and it seems so much more, an easy path if you slip into a pair of elastic sided shoes, where there's no effort, no shoelaces, no maintenance required, no polishing, no preparation before you get dressed to go out for the day. You just slide into them and off you go. So I understand it. I understand why people have taken those choices. But let me share a little secret with you guys. Gentleman to gentleman, as we are having this chat. Good shoes still really matter in this world. I'm going to talk you through why that is. But first of all, I'm going to give you an example which has just recently dominated the news headlines of why good shoes really matter. And I'm going to take you to a couple of weeks ago. A historic event occurred in Canada. And I'll tell you what the event was. It was the official opening of Parliament by the Canadian monarch, King Charles III. Now this was historic for a couple of reasons. Firstly, it was the first time King Charles had opened the Canadian Parliament during his reign. In fact, I don't believe the Canadian monarch, the Canadian king or queen had opened Parliament since 1977. So we're going back nearly 50 years or so. So it's been a long time. You also accept that the reason that took place was because there has recently been some tension between Canada and another one of its regional neighbours, who will remain unnamed, and they wanted to emphasise their sovereignty. And to do that, the new Canadian Prime Minister had invited the Canadian King over to open Parliament. A big, historic, significant international event for a number of reasons: political, traditional, heritage, and so on. So everybody attending that situation, that parliamentary ceremony where the king officially opened Parliament, they know it's going to be televised, they know it's going to be all over the newspapers. I guess, that you want to put your best foot forward and look your very best when attending that event. So, it's going to be all over the news the next day. And what was the news the next day? Dominated by, absolutely, footwear choices, particularly the footwear choice of former Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who attended that event with his mother, who of course is the widow of a former Canadian Prime Minister as well. And all of the news, the only thing which was in the news was that Justin Trudeau had elected to wear a pair of green suede Adidas Gazelle trainers with his lovely, absolutely gorgeous blue suit. Very, very business appropriate, but he chose to wear these gaudy vastly inappropriate training shoes. Now, there's no reason being given for that. We don't know whether it was Justin Trudeau making a political statement, whether he forgot his dress shoes, and this was the only thing he could lay his hands on. But sure enough, the man was eviscerated in the global press because of his footwear choices. So if you think that you can get away with wearing trainers or inappropriate footwear to the big events in life, you are very much mistaken. Learn from the errors of others, and particularly in this instance, by the errors of Justin Trudeau. Now, to help us in our train of thought here, I've got 3 reasons why I've distilled my wide thoughts on this matter into why I think good shoes really matter. And the first thing I would say is that they complete your outfit. And by this I mean you can't fake good shoes. You can't blag it, right, in the way that you can with certain other elements of your outfit. Now, shall we take, for example, a suit? All right, you can go into a department store. I'll give an example. Here in the UK, our most prevalent department store throughout the country is a company called Marks & Spencer. You could go into Marks & Spencer's and you can buy a nice 2-piece polyester wool blend business suit. You'll probably pay about £200 for it, right? Which is cheap for a suit, accepted. But if you are physically well built, all right, if you're in shape and you're looking good, you're physically strong, you've got height, you kept your weight in check, a cheap suit can look very good on you because you've got the raw materials underneath. And in other words, it can be overlooked by the fact that you've got a cheap suit on. You can blag it, right? You're still going to look good even though the suit is essentially low quality. You can do the same with a few other items as well. So for instance, if you're wearing a necktie and you can only afford a polyester necktie, a couple of pounds from down the local market, all right? Easily purchased anywhere, polyester necktie. It's going to be a fraction of the price of a high quality silken necktie, but it's such a small, simple accessory, it can be overlooked. You can get away with it, but you can't get away with cheap shoes. They are visible all the time, and anybody who knows anything about footwear, if you're wearing cheap shoes, it doesn't matter if you've got a £600 suit on, if you've got a £200 necktie, those shoes are all that is going to draw the eye, and you just can't blag it. You can't make a pair of cheap shoes look better. Alternatively, if you have a good quality pair of leather shoes, right, it grounds your outfit. It is, the sort of building blocks. Everything stems from those good shoes. And what I would say to you is this: never think of your footwear as merely just another accessory in your outfit. Think of your shoes as the structural integrity upon which your entire outfit is built upwards. Because let me say, if you've got crap shoes on, your outfit is going to be hobbled beyond any ability to recover it in any other item that you wear. So do not follow the path of Justin Trudeau. He thought his personality and his lovely suit would overwhelm the fact that he had cheap or inappropriate footwear on. It did not work. Global headlines have proved otherwise. Now, the next reason why I think shoes are never going to be overshadowed in this world is that your shoes speak even though you don't open your mouth at all. Because we live in an era of very, very quick encounters, don't we? A snatched handshake, a brief greeting. And it's those tiny moments that we share with other people is all we get now. We get a snapshot of those other people. And in situations like that, where they only get a quick glance of you, your shoes testify beyond your behalf before you ever open your mouth. They are beacons of your character and your personality, and particularly so in the special moments of our lives. I'm thinking about weddings. I'm thinking about funerals, job interviews, first dates, right? Where we want to impress people and look our very best. The man who wears great shoes is always going to be noted by other people and quietly respected. Now, my third and final reason why I think, good shoes are always going to be there for us is that they age with grace. Because unlike Justin Trudeau's suede training shoes, which are going to start to look shabby after a few months, probably going to end up being thrown away within 12 months if he wears them with any regularity, your high quality footwear will only be just beginning to start its journey with you after 12 months. And they will go on and on to have a great life because, after 3 to 12 months, good quality leather shoes, they're just starting to feel like part of your body. Their appearance, they're going to be starting to have this patina which grows over time as we apply products to our shoes, shoe cream, shoe polish. They start to take on these deep and rich colours, and they become an expression of our character, our personality, our charisma, which cannot be said for your training shoes, regardless of how much money they cost, because they're outrageously expensive these days. They're mostly made of man-made materials, and their lifespans will be very short. And when they wear out, you dispose of them. The opposite is the case of your leather shoes. They can be repaired. Any problems which occur with them, damage to the sole, you don't throw them away. That's just the start of their life journey. You replace the sole several times. You can send them back to the factory of construction where they will be refurbished. We talked about King Charles earlier. He's been a well-dressed man all his adult life. And so we know, because he's been so closely photographed through his life journey, he actually owns a pair of shoes made by London bespoke shoemaker John Lobb, which he purchased in 1968, right? 2 years before my birth. So those shoes are heading towards their 60th birthday in a few years' time. He still wears them to this day. They are visibly patched, where over time they've obviously been damaged or worn out or cracked. The leather has deteriorated. And even the King of Canada did not discard his footwear. He sent them back to the factory or sent them to a cobbler, had them repaired, and is still wearing them to this very day. They are the epitome of sustainability and aging gracefully, as they build this enormous character and panache as they join us on our journey to Chap Nirvana. So, just for my final word on this, I am not suggesting that everybody should only wear, nice quality dress shoes or well-manufactured shoes all the time. Absolutely not. I don't. I'm an ordinary guy. I'm wearing a pair of desert boots under the table here right now because I'm outdoors in an environment where they are the appropriate footwear to wear. And that's the key. You wear appropriate footwear for the situations that you face in life. But just think on this for a moment, right? If you are somebody who habitually only ever wears soft shoes, I'm talking about Crocs, the devil's footwear, or training shoes or sneakers, just take a moment and think to yourself, next time you're going to buy some new footwear, treat yourself to one pair of nice quality shoes that can last you a long time. Now, it doesn't have to be a nice pair of polished leather Oxfords or a pair of suede desert boots. It can be a pair of chukka boots. It can be a pair of country brogues that you want to wear in the outdoors. It can be desert boots. It can be Chelsea boots. But choose something which is a little smarter, made of nice quality materials. And let me tell you, you're never going to look back. You will wonder why you were paying $300 or $400 or pounds for those sneakers or training shoes. Because you get so much more out of a relationship with good quality shoes. You can wear it in these shoes in so many settings in your life, from casual to formal, and it's going to elevate your style from the ground upwards from that point on. And just remember this, good shoes in your life probably mean more now than they've ever meant at any time before, because less and less people are dressing in quality footwear. So if you do, you're going to be the standout individual in your social circle. Give it a try. You're never going to look back. I hope you've enjoyed my thoughts on good quality shoes today. If you have, like the video, subscribe to see more like this. If you'd like to ask me a question, drop it into an email. I'd love to hear from you. Or if you want to come on the journey with me towards Chap Nirvana, you can do so by becoming one of my patrons. For a tiny monthly fee, you can become a part of my community and benefit from the additional videos I make each week exclusively for my patrons. The link to my patron community is in the show notes below. So until the next time we meet, best foot forward in a nice pair of shoes. I will see you soon.